This is my English translation of Der Froschkönig. To hear me read it in its original German, you can click a link to that video here. In the olden days, when wishes still helped, there lived a king whose daughters were all beautiful. But the youngest was so beautiful that the sun itself, who has seen many things, was amazed when it shone upon her face. Near the king's castle there was a dark forest, and in the forest, under an old linden tree, there was a well. When the day was particularly hot, the king's daughter would sit on the edge of the cool well, and when she was bored, she would throw a golden ball high into the air and catch it again, and that was her favorite game. One day the golden ball didn't fall into her hands when she threw it into the air, but instead hit the earth and rolled into the water. The king's daughter followed it with her eyes, but the ball disappeared, and the well was deep, so deep that one couldn't see the ground beneath the water. Then she began to cry, and she cried louder and louder, and she could not console herself. And as she sobbed, someone yelled to her, "What are you doing, princess? Your screams could evoke pity from a stone." She looked up to see where the voice came from, and there she saw a frog, whose ugly head stretched out of the water. "Oh, it's you, old frog," she said. "I'm crying about my golden ball that I have dropped into the well." "Calm down and don't cry," answered the frog. "I can certainly help you, but what will you give me when I return your toy?" "Whatever you want, dear frog," she said. "My clothing, my pearls, and gems, and even the golden crown that I wear." The frog answered, "Your clothing, your pearls, gems, and your golden crown. I don't want any of that. But if you will love me, and I shall be your companion and playmate, sit next to you at your table, and eat from your golden plate, and drink from your cup, sleep in your bed. If you promise me that, then I will dive down and return your golden ball." "Oh yes," she said. "I will promise you everything that you want, if you only bring me back my ball." She thought, however, "What a silly frog! He sits in the water with his own kind and croaks, and could never be a human's companion." As soon as he had her promise, the frog pulled his head under, dove down, and after a little while, he came back up, had the ball in his mouth, and threw it onto the grass. The king's daughter was overjoyed as she saw her ball again, picked it up, and ran off with it. "Wait, wait," shouted the frog. "Take me with. I cannot run like you do." But it was futile. No matter how loud he croaked, she didn't hear him, hurried home, and soon forgot the poor frog, who sank back into his well. The next day, as she sat at the table with the king and the royal court, eating from her golden plate, something came creeping up the marble steps. Splish, splash, splish, splash, and when it reached the top, it knocked on the door and called, "Princess, young one, let me in." She left to see who was outside. But as she opened the door, she saw the frog waiting for her. She quickly closed the door and returned to the table, and sat anxiously. The king could see clearly that her heart was pounding, and said, "My child, what are you afraid of? Was there a giant waiting at the door, waiting to haul you away? "Oh no," she answered. "It wasn't a giant, but a nasty frog." "What does the frog want from you?" "Oh, dear father, yesterday as I was playing by the well in the forest, my golden ball fell into the water, and when I cried, the frog retrieved it for me, and because he insisted on it, I promised him that he would be my companion. I never thought that he would leave his water, though. Now he is outside and wants me to let him inside." Soon they heard the knocking a second time, and the shout, "Princess, young one, let me in. Don't you know what you said yesterday by the cool well? Princess, young one, let me in." Then the king said, "What you promise, you must also hold to. Go to the door and let him in." She went and opened the door. Then the frog hopped in just behind her feet and followed her to her chair. The frog sat and shouted, "Lift me up to you." She hesitated until the king finally commanded. As soon as the frog sat on the chair, he wanted up on the table. And as he sat, he said, "Now push your golden plate closer to me so that we can eat together." She did it, but one could tell that she didn't want to. The frog enjoyed it, but she could hardly swallow a bite. Finally he spoke. "I have eaten enough, and I am tired. Now carry me to your room and make your silken bed ready. Then we will lay down to sleep." The king's daughter began to cry, and was disgusted by the cold frog, and did not dare to touch him, but was now expected to sleep next to him. But the king was angry and said, "He who helped you when you were in need, you shall not despise afterward." She picked him up with 2 fingers, brought him up, and set him in a corner. But as she lay in her bed, she heard him croak and say, "I am tired, and I want to sleep as well as you. Lift me up, or I will tell your father." Then she was outraged, picked him up, and threw him at the wall with all her power. "Now you will have rest, you disgusting frog." However, as he fell down, he was no frog, but a prince with beautiful, friendly eyes. Now he would be her dear companion and husband, according to her father's will. Then he told her he was cursed by an evil witch, and nobody could have freed him from the well except for her alone, and tomorrow they would go together to his kingdom. Then they slept, and the next morning, as the sun woke them up, a carriage arrived being pulled by 8 white horses, adorned with white ostrich feathers and golden chains on their heads. Behind them stood the young king's servant, the loyal Heinrich. Heinrich, the loyal, was so distraught when his lord was turned into a frog that he had 3 iron bands placed around his heart to keep it from breaking from sadness and sorrow. The carriage had come to bring the young king back to his kingdom. Heinrich the Loyal helped them both into the carriage and was joyful from relief. After traveling a short distance, the prince heard a cracking, as if something was broken. He turned around and said, "Heinrich, the carriage is breaking." "No, sir, not the carriage. It is the band around my heart that felt profound pain when you sat in the well as a frog." 2 more times the king heard the sound of cracking and thought the carriage had broken, but it was only the bands releasing from the heart of Heinrich the Loyal. because his master was happy and free at last.